So, let me ask you this. How many times have you dimmed your light to make someone else comfortable or to shrink and minimize yourself for everyone else's approval? Let me tell y'all something. This episode is for y'all. We are going to talk about unapologetically being yourself, owning it, loving it, and much more. I hope y'all are ready because I'm going to be spilling a little more truths than normal. I'm Rayne Martine, and welcome to A Legendary Mess. So, this week, this topic is a little more dear and near to me because I have struggled so long with this, and I did not realize I could help others with this particular topic. So, let's get straight into it. First and foremost, cousins, we're back. Hi, I missed you. How are you all? I hope you guys are having a very blessed and prosperous week. First and foremost, y'all know the rules. I gotta run it down. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is a safe space. The Legendary Mess is a safe space for all of us who are just trying to figure out our own messes and embracing it and still trying to get through, life with our, what I like to call our mess. We give ourselves grace just like God gave us grace. We're not going to be sitting up here beating ourselves up and taking it too hard. Y'all should know these things. But if you don't, welcome. I'm Rayne Martine. I will be the big CEO cousin who, I give grace because God has given me a lot of grace. So it's only fair and smart and right and righteous and correct if I do the same to others. I'm also a vessel that is just out here uncomfortable on camera talking. Let's really get into it. So let's get into this topic. First and foremost, I do have a messy confessions. My messy confession this week is my mom and I we were having these talks, and we were just having a really good space of talking. And the menace half of my mother, which I love, but I'm still kind of like going to cage Deborah. The menace half of my mom said something to me. I can't really say it because it's not appropriate and it would be airing other people's businesses out. But we were having this conversation about, authenticity. And one of the things that she values, that we both value, are the authenticity and the genuinity of a person. And we came to this conclusion with the person that we were talking about that they're not very genuine, and that me personally, if we took it back, because my mom, like I told y'all, she has this alter ego, Deborah, who I'm very convinced shot Tupac. She might have shot a few other people. Who knows? That woman is a thug when the alter ego come out. But we were realizing how ingenuine this person was. How, despite, even though my discernment was very strong about them, and my mom wasn't 100% seeing it, now that she sees it, she had said to me, I'm not going to say verbatim because there was some cuss words in there, so we're not going to do that. But she pretty much said to me, if I could go back, I probably would have dropped that person on their neck. And if you guys know, I'm a girl who balances hood rat Helga, and Holy Haley. I'm both. I'm saved, but I'm ratchet. And I own that wholeheartedly. But when my mom said that, I was like, if this was the older version of me, I would have already dropped her on her neck and you would have found out years later. That shouldn't have slipped out. And my mom shouldn't have been like, well, why didn't you? We were. It, my messy confessions is I low key let the hooligan half of me pop out, and my mom was with the antics, and then proceeded to say, "Sometimes we need you to go back to pew pew," and let's just say I'm not going back no time soon unless provoked, like really really badly. But I don't think I'm going back, and I need y'all just pray for her because we need Deborah back in the cage. Deborah has been out and about wilding. Please go back in the cage, Deborah. I don't want no problems anymore because you've been wreaking havoc a little on me. I love you all the same, but please go back in the cage, girl. It's getting hard to to hold it down, Craig. um, but that's my messy confessions. But it ties into this topic. So the question that I started with is, I'm sorry, y'all. Me and my glasses were having a fight. So the question is, how many of you have dimmed your light for someone else's comfort, have shrunken themselves down, right? And I can say from experience, I have done it stupidly, intentionally, unknowingly on a lot of it has happened, right? This is particularly for y'all because I have some gems that I want y'all to take with yous. So first and foremost, we're gonna roll it on back. I struggled a lot of years with this, and it was very odd because I had to trace back to where it stemmed from in a therapy session like some years ago, and this actually helped me embrace. So one of the therapy sessions that I had with my therapist, shout out to her, I had to do like counter work, if that makes sense. So it was negative, you have to counter it with a positive. And it opened a lot of old things that I wasn't prepared for to be open, but it was so necessary. And what happened was when I traced it back, it goes back to childhood. Growing up, I was a very, very sensitive child. I still am sensitive, but I have a lot tougher skin now. So it's going to take a little harder to break me. But when I was younger, I was extremely, extremely sensitive. Like it didn't take much for me to cry or to feel defeated, if you want to call it that. I was often teased a lot growing up because if it wasn't for my looks, it was because I was smart and very well I was very intellectual. If it wasn't for that, it was because I was shaped like olive oil. Kids be cruel, y'all. I'm gonna just let y'all know, kids be cruel. And it took such a long time for me to kind of understand like who I was. I needed space to understand that, and for a very long time I didn't get that. So growing up, I was a very sensitive child. I was a very soft child, and I don't mean soft like a pushover soft. I mean like soft as in I loved putting on dresses, but I also loved being a tomboy. I loved to balance the two, because I grew up in the 90s looking at, people like Aaliyah, TLC, that kind of stuff. But I was a very huge fan of Aaliyah and a very huge fan of Selena. And I loved TLC. And they had like a certain vibe about them that I just loved. And it just was it stood out to me. And I loved how they were just unapologetically who they were. So Growing up, I struggled harder with coming into who I was more when my mom passed. It was one thing, when my mom used to be like, you gotta get a backbone, because I was a very sensitive child. I'm not gonna say soft because that's not the correct term. I was extremely sensitive. It did not take much for me to cry. I often got bullied. I didn't know how to counter it. I was often the child that was like, but why would you want to bully me? And I would often become very alienated because of the bullying. A lot of times my older sister Charles would have to, like, her and my cousin Helena, they would have to like rough some of them kids up, and I never told them to do that. They would just see, or somebody would tell them that I was like somewhere crying, and they would be like, pick who said it. We gonna beat them up faithfully all the time at recess, never failed. I do thank them for that, even though I don't think all the time it was a good idea, but I thank them for that because they really did protect me a lot of the times. And they also were the two that had to teach me how to kind of like hold my own with fighting. Should I had ever gotten into a fight, which years later I did. But, growing up, I was the child who just, I was extremely shy. My best friend was literally my family. Like, I didn't really need too much to bother me. Like, my best friend was my aunt. Like, what do you want me to say? And my younger sister Jamie, and my well, we're not biological cousins, but we always said we would play cousins. Stephanie, of course. Those were who I grew up with. Those were my friends. Those were the people that I loved. And I really didn't need too much. I'm still very much that way. Like, who I'm stuck with is who I'm stuck with, and I'm staying that way. And we're kind of just, it just works. When my mom passed, this is where it really started to become very heavy. When my mom passed, if you guys don't know, my mom passed on my 10th birthday from breast and lung cancer. And foster care is hard. It's not easy for everybody. I didn't have the simplest of simplest. I often had adults. So is the adults, ain't it? I often had adults tell me, pull back, you need to be this, you need to be that. You can't do this. You can't show them that you're sad about your mom dying. First and foremost, whoever said that, the few people who, I'm not even going to give y'all names. I'm just going to minimize it, even though I know it was a lot of y'all. The few of y'all that said that to me, I hope y'all understand the magnitude of what kind of damage that did, because telling a child they shouldn't be sad about their parent, the loss of their parent, is bananas. Bananas. Your whole world is turned upside down and you're telling me not to be sad. That's crazy. Bananas. I had to go through foster care, and we're not going to name this person or family, but this one particular woman and family who had me and my brother. She did not make anything easy on me. There were more boys than there were a girl. I was really I was really technically the only girl in that house outside of her. But the boys had everything easy. My brother was also getting bullied because him and I were very similar, but nobody ever really got on him and told him too much of, you can't be this, you can't be that. You know what I mean? I'd like to think it's double standards. But when it came to foster care in this particular home that we were in, I often got ostracized a lot. Like, it was always, you're not this enough, and you're not this. You need to be more of this. It used to break my heart because I couldn't just be myself. Like, myself was not good enough. So that then really put me in a space where I had to protect every ounce of who I was, but I had to harden a lot of me. And that's not fair to anybody, especially a child. Like, I don't want to say shame on the adults, but wow, y'all guys really, like, should be more mindful. Because if somebody did that to y'all, okay, understandable, but don't do it to the next person. It's not cool. I was in this space of grief, depression, struggling to figure out how do I maneuver now life without one parent. How do I maneuver life being alienated from another parent? Because the people that we were living with alienated me from my dad and my sisters. And that's a lot. It's just too much. So the people who knew me well and who understood me, I was alienated from. And that really does something to you. It made me create a version of myself that was very watered down, but more tolerable for everybody else. Which meant I had to come up with perfect responses that appeased someone's ego or appeased what they thought of me. I had to learn certain mannerisms, which if you ask Star, she's going to be on this podcast eventually. I don't know when, but she will. And she might even say it in real time and on podcast. My mannerisms are very, very spot on when it comes to emulating people and doing certain things. And that's all because I had to teach myself that, because I was told I wasn't enough or I was too much. So I had to learn certain mannerisms. Like, I'm very comfortable. I'm a person who's very comfortable balling myself up physically. Like, I love to kind of like, if I'm home, I'm going to be knees to chest. I know you can't see it, but knees to chest, right? That's my comfort. That's the comfort. But I had to learn how to not do that. I remember one adult had told me my shyness is actually weakness. I had never heard that a day in my life until I was probably in like 6th or 7th grade when an adult told me that. So now I had to learn not to be shy, even though that's just who I was. And I had to force myself to be extroverted. I'm naturally not an extrovert. I'm very introverted. I really am a person who can walk in the room, greet everybody, and then still sit in the corner and just be good with that. All these things that I knew who I was had to diminish or be minimized for all these adults, not children, not peers, but all these adults, comforts. And that used to make me really, really heartbroken, because for a very long time, it was, why am I not good enough? And then there was the other half of me that was just like, is there something wrong with me? It took a whole lot of years and a lot of therapy for me to find out it's not that there was anything wrong with me, and it's not that anything was right with me. I was just who I was, and somebody else had been told by somebody else that they needed to minimize, right? So I had to learn how to change my perspective with a lot of things too. Because it's no longer what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you that made you feel this way to do that to others. And even still now, there's moments where I might kind of hesitate, but I'll hesitate, but I'll still unapologetically go forth as this is what you got. Okay. With that being said, as I became a teenager and I struggled with my weight extremely, I struggled with a very severe eating disorder. That was the things that used to stress me out. Not being able to be myself, always having to minimize myself, always having an adult somewhere here, telling me you're too much, your personality, this, that, third. I was just never good enough. One day, finally, I remember, and it sucked that he had to sit and pick these pieces up. One day, my ex-husband and I, we were having this conversation where he was in a space of struggling with, like who he was and who he is, currently. And the only thing that I said to him, I said, why are you struggling so hard with that? Are you still chasing glory days or whatever? And he said, I don't know. He said, I feel like I'm chasing an aspect that doesn't exist. And I still can't get into the space that I want to be in with myself. Like, I don't know. So the first thing I said was, why don't you take a minute to learn who you are before you do all these 10 billion things? And he looked at me like I was nuts. And he was like, well, where'd you get that advice from? I said, my therapist, my life coach. And he goes, you really pay money for that? And I said, yeah, I do. Because there's a lot of stuff that I had to unload and unpack and get rid of and change. And, because I wanted better for myself. And he was just like, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. So that was a few years ago. That's probably like 2021, 2022, that we were just sitting and having that conversation, as just co-parents and friends. And then one day, not too long ago, he made a comment. He said, I'm proud of you for not minimizing your light any more than you all had already previously did. And I was so shocked that he said that. And it was very random. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, where did that come from? What did I miss? I'm that girl. If I missed it, if it went over the head, it's over the head. Like, you have to either run it back or let me just be lost. And he was honest, but he was like, which my ex-husband and I have known each other since we were legitimately 12, 13 years old. We really seen each other in so many phases of life, from before we started dating and kids, and now we're in such a much different space. I'm proud of where he's at now. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm proud of his growth, and I'm honored that I even was capable of witnessing it. And I'm sure he feels the same, vice versa. But he was like, I watched you go through all these different phases where people would literally tell you were too much, or you're not enough, or you can't come in and act that way. You can't. A lot of it was family. And he used to be more pissed off than me. And he used to he always wondered, why did I have to do that? It wasn't until one day he really was paying attention to the family dynamic and realized, like, oh, you're the ostracized one. Got it. Which is true. I am the ostracized out of my family, out of adopted and birth. And to be honest, as much as that used to bother me, it doesn't bother me anymore, because I'm so comfortable with knowing I don't have to fit anybody's narrative, and I don't care to. Why would I care to be your cup of tea when I'm, first and foremost, and I've said this plenty of times, why would I care to be your cup of tea when my name is literally Rayne? I will make it pour on you with whatever sunshine that I bring to the table. I don't care to fit in another person's narrative. I don't care to fit this weird idea that you have of me because of looks or this or that, or what you made up in your mind. All those years that I spent up until I was almost about 30, fitting the narrative of everybody else's, and I was truly just like struggling. Behind closed doors, it was one thing. Like, if it was behind closed doors, me and my kids, I was fine. Like, they've seen who I am, like, unapologetically. Like, I like being in a hoodie and some shorts, watching a movie maybe, or reading a book, or just hanging out with them. And they often used to tell me, go get a social life. They don't say that anymore, because now they don't even like outside themselves. Crazy, right? There's also that space where, they learned so much. They were like, you mean to tell me you mean to tell me adults told you that? And that's why you don't tell us that? And I'm like, well, yeah, I would never tell y'all to minimize your light to fit someone else's narrative. And we've had a couple of those run-ins where there was a teacher who did tell two of my daughters that they were too much. Let me just say, Hood Red Helga won that day. I was up at this. Ooh, I bit my tongue. That's a mess. There's something going on. They didn't want that message to come out. I see that. Father, fix it. Give me strength. Just keep going. But yeah, I had two separate teachers, two separate times, tell my daughters they were too much. Let me just tell y'all, Helga really did win that day. Both them days. I went to the school and cussed. Yes, I'm going to tell y'all, I cussed the teacher out because I was like, how dare you tell my child that they were too much? And how dare you try to fit them into a narrative that does not replicate and isn't them? And how dare you make up a false narrative or this false version of her in your mind? You have a lot of nerve, and if I find that you say that to another student outside of my child, we're going to have all types of chaos. I don't know where that woman is. I hope she's well, but she never ever said that again to my child. The other teacher, on the other hand, she was so terrified she called security on me. Not my proudest moment, but she was terrified, and she never said another word to my daughter like that ever again. But I also, with my oldest, by the way, by the time y'all see this, my oldest is now 17. Today is her birthday. Today's her birthday. By the time y'all see this, it won't be her birthday anymore. It'll be the day after. But it's her. I have a 17-year-old, guys. I'm shocked out of my mind. I'm grateful beyond words, but I'm shocked out of my mind that I have a 17-year-old. I would have never thought. But God is very good. He's great for allowing that girl to be under my care. He got a lot of faith in me. But back to the topic. We did have a couple of moments where my daughter struggled with that. She had an adult, and we will touch that topic sometime later this year with her permission. But she had a very distinct adult, and it wasn't me and it wasn't her father. Again, we'll touch that topic, but it was an adult who wasn't a very good person tell her she wasn't enough, and made her feel really, really bad about herself, that she was willing to do whatever it took to fit into this person's narrative. But it was 4:00 in the morning. She was crying, and she just was so heavy with it that she didn't know how to tell me. And I sat with her 4:00 in the morning. She had to be about 6 or 7. So imagine a 6 or 7-year-old 4:00 in the morning, distraught with that kind of anxiety, because an adult told her that. And she was scared I was going to go cuss them out. I didn't cuss them out. I didn't have to. Her dad did that. He did that. He handled that. But I sat with her and I had to explain to her. I said, I understand that. I said, let me make this clear. I don't want you to be anybody but yourself. Yourself will always be good enough, and it will always attract the right people. Sometimes it'll attract sheep in human clothing, but you are always enough. Do not let anyone tell you that you aren't. And I had to explain to her, she's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to be, first of all, if everybody likes you, that's great too. But some people, and I've learned this, and it sucks that I had to learn it very harshly. There will be people who like you, but they like what you bring to the table. They like the idea of you. They like the benefit of you. She's also learned that, and she now knows how to guard that aspect of her heart, and she knows how to protect that aspect of her mind so they don't get the better of her. And I'm so proud of her because she's made it 17 years and she's like killing it. She's doing way better than I ever did, and I'm so proud of her. I know she knows that. All of my kids are just something that I'm proud of. So with that, when I talk to them and I'm honest with these beautiful children of mine, I tell them I don't expect them to be anybody but themselves. You know what I mean? Because overall, I don't ever want them to have validity from other people and outside. That's not living. That's misery. I want them, and I say this to them all the time because they watched it in real timing. Your identity should never be based on the world and other people's opinions. It should be based off of you and God. Who God sees that you are is who you will be. You might stumble, you might fall, but that's who you'll be. And everyone else, instead of being like, what's wrong with them? Why are they that way? Change the tone and say what happened to them and who told them that they had to do that. Because a lot of times it's somebody behind the scenes telling them to do that. And it sucks that that happens, but in all reality, that's exactly what it is. Like somebody was here in their ear or in the back of their head. And for me, it was both. I used to hear my mom, my late mother, not my mom, my late mother in my head stating, you do this, you do that. And then I would hear whatever adult creep in and tell me I am too much, I'm not enough, I'm this, I'm never going to be good enough. And the minute I did that, going back to the beginning where I did the counter, it was negative, positive, negative, positive. I had like 10 sheets of paper with all of that. And after I had did that, I cried because I was like, I can't believe these are all the things that were told to me and I have to now counter it. But everything that I countered it with was truth. Like on one of the papers, it was, I am not pretty enough. I struggled a lot of years with my looks, from skinny to big to medium. Struggled. And growing up, I used to get called big lips because my lips are big. It wasn't until I was a teenager, one day it was my grandmother and my mom. Somebody heard the comment before I did. They were making a comment about my lips, and it was a grown man. It was a grown man. They still won't tell me what exactly was said, and my grandmother took it to the grave with her. But my mother was like, let me explain something to you. Anybody talk about them lips, you tell them the blacker the berry is sweeter juice. You have perfect lips that people are paying money for. I didn't realize how true that was until I started seeing it on social media. So they were spot on about that. I know I have flaws. I know I'm not perfect, and I know I'm going to never ever be perfect. But why would I? Years now in the space that I'm in now, if I had to help somebody, which I don't realize that I often do randomly, here's some takeaways. Don't find your validity or worth in other people's comments or the world. It is not worth it. You yourself have to embrace all that your mess. And despite it took me years, I love my mess. I love it so much. Like, I'm a nerd. I'm a little ditzy. I'm girly, but I'm tomboyish. I love, being a form of handy mandy because I love to fix things, but I also don't always want to be the person who fixes things, and that's okay to, tag somebody in. I love, all types of music. I'm a nerd. I love to explore. Like, I love going on little food adventures. I love making an ordinary day be extraordinary with something small and simplistic. I love brightening up people's day with a comment that if they look sad, or I don't know what their conditions are, but if I'm out in the street and you might look down, but I'm looking at something way past that emotion, like, you look good today, girl, you glowing. Sometimes people need that, because I know how many times I needed it and didn't realize I was probably looking like sad. But I love, showing up and loving on others, because I know what it's like to not have that kind of love. I love being a safe place for others because I didn't have a safe place. So all these things that are me, like I'm an introvert. I don't like having to be an extrovert. I don't. I love music. I love dance. I'm trained. I'm a trained competitive dancer. I don't always like having to show that skill. I kind of like two-stepping it when I'm hanging out with friends, but if not, I'll maybe act the monkey tree swinging fool mess. You never know. But I know I have a lot of duality to me. And I'm multifaceted. And I love that about me. There's nobody like me. And there's nobody like you neither. So don't let outside opinions validate your worth or who you are, or tell you who you are, because you know who you are. And if you don't, take a minute to learn. It's okay to be alone for a little bit to learn who you are. I used to think I needed to always have somebody there to tell me. The minute I got alone and just let loose and learned who I was and allowed the things that piqued my interest to pique my interest, I realized I'm still that same little girl who, likes animal crackers and a good book. Just my upgraded version would be wine instead of a soda, or water and tea. You know what I mean? Like I'm still very much the little girl that is shy, and reserved and has to kind of watch. I'm very precocious. I'm not going to just jump into it. As much as everybody is so used to this version that I was very uncomfortable in, like I'm risky, I'm this. I'm not. I'm not. And I'm okay with that. I don't need everybody else to be okay with it. I need to be okay with it. And I'm a girl who loves God, and I'm going to chase after him. And I don't mind that I'm going to lose a lot of people behind it. I've lost plenty of people behind it. I've lost plenty of people behind my beliefs on and my stance on being a girl, being a girl of God. I love that God has brought me so far that he hasn't left me and he's still working on me. And yeah, I'm going to slip up, but he's faithful to perform. And I love reading the Bible at night. I love thinking about the mysteries of life and if there's aliens. Like, I know who I am, and I'm so comfortable in that. But I know there's so many people who are out there like struggling. My first piece of advice is get okay with you. Sometimes you got to tune out the outside noise. Tune it out. It's okay. Be okay with you and let God lead that. If you're like anything like me and you're a girl who loves God, and on a few occasions like you had to minimize your love, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's really not. It's not. If you're anything like me and you had to fit somebody else's narrative, don't. It's okay that you don't fit anybody's narrative. You're not supposed to. You have your own story. You have your own narrative. You are your own main character. Be that. Don't shy away from the things that people feel are too much or too little either. Embrace it. And eventually they'll grow bigger. And believe it or not, it'll probably be a strength that somebody else doesn't realize, but you knew. Trust your intuition with a lot. And it's okay to be unapologetically yourself. It really, really is. I wish I would have stayed unapologetically myself from teenage years to now instead of trying to fit the narrative. But, you live, you learn, God teaches, and he convicts, not condemns. That's a whole nother topic. And for the little girls who were probably struggling, like how my daughters and my son at once upon a time struggled, and I did, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You don't have to be everybody's friend. The right people will come to you, and that is okay. Don't search for it. It'll literally, you'll attract it. The right people. And don't let nobody dim that light in you. Your light is special for a reason. That light is supposed to be as bright as ever. You don't know what opportunity you might bring just by being yourself. Please do that unapologetically. Don't dim it. Don't simmer it. Don't kind of contort it. Don't do any of that. Just stand 10 toes on who you are, because who you are really is enough. And it took me so many years to figure that out. Who I am is enough, and I'm proud of who she is. And each version of yourself, thank her or him. Thank each version of yourself, because it had to get you to where you're at now. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. I know for me, I if you were to be offended, it would be harder to offend me now than it would yesterday. And that's something I stand on because I'm so comfortable with who I am. Flaws, flubs, all, because I'm still, I'm constantly evolving, and you will too. You're going to keep evolving. You have to learn to just not only find your identity within yourself and your worth and be comfortable with that, but make sure God is talking to you about who you are. That's where you'll get it from. Because the minute he said, I'm his child, but I'm also a vessel for this or that or that, and it made sense why some of these adults were like, you're to this, you're to that. Because all that to this and to that actually came in handy for me. It actually became a strength, and it was a win to help somebody else. And I'm just here to tell you, please don't double down. No watered version of yourself. No contorted version of yourself. Don't simmer yourself down. Don't simmer your fire or your light down. You really are enough. And whoever tells you that you're not, ignore them. For real. Ignore them, bless them, pray over them. That's exactly what I do. I'll hear the comment and boop. But I'll still bless them. Like, hey God, I know somebody might have told them something, or they might, I don't know their conditions, but can you just bless them? And I pray that they are well and on their foot of life, and on their path of life. And I pray that they still get great opportunities. And I pray that their heart is still pure. And if it's hard, and please help them soften it. Sometimes it's not always the person. Sometimes it's the conditions of the person too. Sometimes they're still holding on to a trauma that they can't get rid of, and they don't know how to, or they never spoke about it. But for me personally, and I'm saying this because I love you guys, don't dim your light. You really are enough. You might not feel it right now, but give it some time. You're enough. All that you're too much or you're too little, don't even trip. You'll grow into it. And when you do, you'll be unstoppable, and you'll be amazing, and you'll just be great. And God's going to tell you that you're going to be great too. He has a plan over you. Don't think for 1 second that he don't. Just stay on the path of owning who you are, owning your mess, and embracing it and loving it. And each version of yourself, thank that version of yourself, because it's gotten you to where you're at now. And I know it's hard. I know it is, but give yourself time, give yourself grace, forgive yourself for where you fall short, and ask God to forgive you too. Can't go wrong with that. You really can't. And while you're learning that, take a minute to explore different things. Like, I'm a food enthusiast. Like, over the weekend, I went on a food adventure with my 2 closest girls, and I was so happy it was them. And I was happy we were on a food adventure at this long hour of the night. I'm not going to tell y'all, but we were outside, and it was a good time. And I enjoyed it. I was in the presence of the Lord. I was in the presence of food. I was in the presence of good company. Who could get mad at that? I can't. So, just so y'all know, be unapologetically yourself. You don't need to be everybody's cup of tea. Why would you want to do that? It's kind of like if I had to tell my younger self, you march to the beat of your own drum, and your name is Rayne. You can make it pour if you really, really wanted to. Why would you want to settle for fitting in a cup and your name is Rayne? You literally are precipitation. If the sky thunders, guess who's coming out high? I mean, why would don't settle? So just like I use that to remind myself, like, don't settle. Find the thing that reminds you not to settle. Just don't. Settling sucks, by the way, because once you settle, it's hard to undo that. Don't settle. Just be unapologetically yourself. Love who you are and let God love on you and pour into you too. And the outside validations, they'll still be outside validations. You don't need them. There's people on the internet trying to critique me now, and you think I'm worried about them? I mean, God bless them. I hope they watch the whole episode though. But before we end, I'm going to ask the question again. Have you ever simmered down to or dimmed your light to fit someone else's narrative or their comfort, or to make them comfortable, or just to kind of like fit in? And if you have, share, like, comment, subscribe, share the podcast, the link. You know where to find me. IG, I am Rayne Martine, or A Legendary Mess. Spotify, YouTube, obviously. TikTok, you can find me as Rayne Martine. You can find me on Facebook, even though I really dislike it, as Rayne M. Y'all will figure out the last name because you can't miss this space. But yeah, cousins, until next time, you know the rules. Give yourself grace like God gave us grace. Be forgiving. And own your legendary mess. It's a safe space. We're going to be messed up together. But own your legendary mess. Don't, everything else is still, you have other problems that'll arise. But the best thing you could be is yourself, because there's nobody like you. And I pray that you focus in and laser in on that. So until then, I love you, but God loves you even more. And yeah, this is A Legendary Mess. Until next time, cousins.